Okay, so I want to go over. I put a chalkboard up, and if you're watching us at glennbeck.com, you'll see Venezuela, China, Iran. They're all connected. All of these things are connected. And if somebody tells you this is all about the oil, listen to them, because it is. But I don't know if they understand what they're even saying about that, and I'll explain in a second. If they're saying, well, this is about drugs, okay, this is about terror, this is about the hemisphere, this is about the U.S. military and the war machine. Yes, to all of those things. So let me pull them apart. First of all, right now, Venezuela has the largest proven oil reserves on Earth, 303 billion barrels. That's $17+ trillion at the current market value. They also claim about 8,000 to 10,000 tons of gold that is still in ground. Okay. Now, here's the part you're not being told. With all of that oil, we don't need the oil. Have you noticed the gas prices? They keep coming down. We don't need the oil. We need to pull the oil out of the ground ourselves, which we are. We need to refine it ourselves, which we are. China needs the oil. China buys 60 to 90% of all of Venezuela's crude exports. China also buys 85 to 90% of all of the oil from Iran. China also buys nearly half of all Russian oil. What's happening right now? Well, 60 to 90% of all of the exports from Venezuela now not going to China. How is China going to be able to power all of their electricity needs? How are they going to do that if they don't get oil from Venezuela? Oh, and what else has been destabilized this weekend? Iran. They buy 85 to 90% of all of the oil in Iran, and those are huge oil reserves as well. So when people say this isn't about oil, or this is about oil, the argument goes back and forth. No, it's not about oil. We don't need it. No, it absolutely is about oil, but not for us. This is about Donald Trump, again, playing to win the long game. You're not going to have any of the oil from Western allies. Not going to happen. We don't need you to win because you have all of the energy. You're not going to do it. We need the energy. The West needs the energy, and you're not pulling it out of our hemisphere. Okay, if Iran and Venezuela fall at the same time, China loses 70% of its non-U.S. regulated oil supply. 70%. What else does that mean besides AI? You lose 70% of your oil from that's non-U.S. You lose 70%. What else can't you do? Well, you can't go into Taiwan. You certainly can't have a war with Taiwan. You can't have AI dominance. There's no BRICS reserve currency. So just on the oil front, absolutely it's about oil, but not the way everybody, oh, that's because Exxon's going to get rich. No, because if you shut down the oil, no war in Taiwan because they don't have the energy to do it, no AI dominance because they won't have the energy to do it, and no BRICS currency. Game over for now. That's why this matters, and that's only one piece of this. Here's what Marco Rubio said over the weekend. We don't need Venezuela's oil. What we're not going to allow, however, is for the oil industry in this hemisphere to be controlled by adversaries of the United States. Is that imperialism? Or is that the defense of the hemisphere? I want you to know, and we'll talk about this later, because I think we have a George AI today after this show. I think, and we'll talk to Jason about this, I think George AI is going to talk about act of war and, you know, what the founders thought about foreign entanglements and everything else. But we can argue about the constitutionality of what Donald Trump did. Does he have the right to do it? Well, I don't know. I think he does, I don't necessarily like it, but I also don't like the fact that Congress would have to be involved on short-term things. The way it's generally been played is I think it's 30 or 45 days he can go in and do something in defense of the country, and then they have to approve any ongoing things with 30 or 45 days. And I'm kind of comfortable with that. But we can argue about that. There's strict constitutionalists who say absolutely not. And you know what? You might be right. There are other people who say, no, he has the right. And you know what? I have a harder time believing that, no, he can do whatever he wants. That's not true. But we can argue about it. What you cannot argue about is if you say you're America first. This isn't America first. This is absolutely America first. This is the most America first thing I have ever seen. Notice another thing. Trump is not just confronting our enemies. He's stealing alliances. The UAE don't like a lot of the stuff in the Middle East. But notice they're not being bombed. They're being courted. Why? Why? Because power flows through relationships, not just weapons. This is all about blocking Iran, China, and Russia. More on this going deeper in just a second.
Because the flag still stands for freedom, and they can't take that